Keep yourself in the loop of everything football. Listen to Alex and Jeremiah on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello there, I'm Jeremiah.
I am Alex, always and forever here.
Dedicated to college and NFL football. The latest football news on and off the field. NFL draft trade rumors. We've got you covered from the NFL, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything else in between. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we talk the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football, from the latest signings, this year's breakout stars, and all of the news in between. As always, I am Alex.
And I'm Jeremiah.
and welcome to November.
Yes.
We're already in November.
Wake up is the first of the month.
I like
Wake
that.
up.
Are you a fan of the movie V for Vendetta?
Like the define like fan. Like I like the movie.
Do you like the movie?
I like the movie. Okay,
Yeah.
You made it seem like if it was like a huge fan. No, I like the movie.
No, it's like if you like the movie, yeah. You know, remember the 5th of November.
Yeah,
we got that coming up.
Remember the 5th of November.
Yeah, we got that coming up. I don't
Yeah,
think they say it like that, but
what was that? What was that date on Mean Girls again? It's October 3rd or something like that.
oh, that already passed.
I know it did.
Yeah.
That's why I want to mention that.
Yeah, October, whatever.
I forgot the day of that movie.
I always see it retweeted and stuff on Twitter every time that.
Me too, and I always forget about it.
It's the 9th or whatever it is.
Oh,
yeah, because my birthday's the 6th, so I should remember it if it's that close. But excuse me, I always forget. It's a funny movie though. Not V for Vendetta. That's not funny.
No, it's not funny. That's actually really serious.
It's a very serious and sometimes gruesome movie. But if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Anyways, today we're talking Monday Night Football. We're going to recap the Bears-Vikings game from last night. We're going to take a look at kind of a prediction of our own, at least kind of a look forward to tonight's first, or at least today's first, depending on what time it airs over here. But later today, the first college football playoff rankings that will be announced. And then in the show, we'll have a little bit of news on some players here and there and here and there. So I think 3 total as it stands currently. Some retiring, some coming back from retirement, some getting traded. Oh, yeah, we got it all. But we're going to start with Monday Night Football, and that is the Halloween edition between two teams of the AFC North, and that is the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings, in somewhat of a surprising outcome. The Chicago Bears, completely against what Jeremiah and I said, win this one 20-10, move to 2-6 on the year. The Vikings drop to 5-2, 2 straight losses after starting the year undefeated.
Yeah. We'll just say this caught me by surprise. And
go ahead and talk it out. I have a idea as to how it might have happened.
Okay. First thing that stands out, Jordan Howard, big game. He would run 153 yards and a touchdown against the Vikings defense. He so would do that.
Yeah, he was definitely
on a game I didn't really think anything would happen for the Bears offensively.
Like every fantasy league, all that.
He got dropped in my league the day before, and I'm actually gonna have a waiver claim on him. So
that's what I'm talking about.
There you go.
Do you want to know why I think this happened? Like what the reason for it was? Do you want to know
why?
So we've seen how bad the Vikings offensive line is, right? You know, they go and get and they're losing everybody. They go and get somebody, lost him, you know. Everybody's hurt. They can't protect Sam Bradford, at least fully. So he has to scramble. He has to get outside the pocket. That's not his game. He's not fast. He is actually slower than me walking backwards. So that's not his game, to get outside the pocket, to move around and extend the play. That's not his thing. So that's a lot of what happened last night. The run game was a non-factor, 57 yards on 18 carries as a team, 14 of which were from Matt Asiata for 42 yards. So not like that was a factor really at all. They were 2 for 15, I believe, on third down. I'm pulling it up right now. They were 2 for 13, excuse me. So 2 for 13 on third down. That means their defense was on the field a lot this game. That means their defense had to be exhausted in this game. And Jordan Howard wore them down in this game. On top of that, Jay Cutler, his first game coming back from injuring his thumb, he played pretty well. 252 and 1 touchdown, which he threw to Alshon Jeffrey, who I'm sure is happy to have his favorite quarterback back, even though he had a pretty decent job there from Brian Hoyer. But, yeah, they just wore him down. And, I mean, any defense, no matter how good you are, you wear them down effectively like that, and you exhaust them, they're not stopping anything. And I think that's what happened last night.
No, you're right. And the Vikings, they can't rush the ball. They can't. They
not
only
like
they
their back end plays. No.
They only
that's the weak spot of the
average
defense.
3.2. They can't rush the ball. They can't pass the ball. They can't protect their quarterback. They're relying way too much on this defense.
Yeah, they can't pass the ball because they can't protect them.
They're relying way too much on this defense, and rightfully, I understand why they are, but this is just not that. Maybe this defense isn't as good as we thought it was. Maybe it's not.
Maybe. I mean, the back end definitely is solid. I mean, we saw a lot of opportunities for turnovers last night that didn't quite come to fruition. But, yeah, this offensive line was built for running, not for protecting the quarterback, and then that offensive line still crumbled away. And this offensive line is built by, like, twigs and branches, and it's not very good. So, yeah, they're going to have to figure something out, because if they can't protect Bradford, this is going to be one of those cases of a team that has a lot of potential that is not going to win a lot of games down the stretch, because, I mean, that's too straight for them. I mean, no one's panicking. They're 5-2. They're still at the top of their division over the Packers, who are closest at 4-3. But they got to figure it out, because this is the problem, and people are going to start targeting that problem.
Yeah, not only that, they don't have the number 1 seed in the NFC no more. That goes to the Dallas Cowboys at 6-1. So.
Yes, it does. Now we look at the Bears. Now they won this game and they look to play well, but currently as it stands, they are scoring 16.4 points a game. That is worst in the NFL. This defense played well last night, but they're roughly, in terms of points, they're 16th in the NFL. 4. So they're scoring worse than the league against they're scoring about middle of the pack. So they need to score more points. But their defense is not good enough to carry them through these games if they're only scoring a league-worst 16.4 points a game. So they're going to have to figure something out. They currently, as it stands, like I said, they're in last in the division, and they have the Buccaneers coming up, who played in a good offensive game against the Raiders. I mean, there's much to be said about a team who can win a game with 24 turnovers. There's still much to be said about a team who can't win a game when the other team receives 24 penalties. So you have that to look at. But the Buccaneers can show they put up points. Then you have the Giants, who have offensive weapons. And then you have the offensive attack of the Titans in 3 straight weeks. If they can't put up points, this defense is, I mean, they have decent pieces, but you can only do so much when you're often, we saw last night 20 points was enough to win them the game, but, with an offensive attack like that, what if they were playing the Cowboys or the Eagles or the Steelers or the Patriots? What kind of points would they have given up then? So it remains to be seen what kind of team this is.
Yeah, and I think why the Chicago Bears all of a sudden put it all together, I think they finally got everyone back healthy. And
at least a decent amount.
They got a decent amount of players healthy, including their quarterback, Jay Cutler, who played his best game of the season.
Yeah.
I don't think we can argue with that.
You only had 2 other ones to really consider,
But exactly.
I agree with what you mean.
And they got Jeremy Langford back, and we thought they were going to do by like a committee with Langford.
Well, I don't think he officially was healthy last night.
Well, he was active.
Was he?
He was active.
I mean, then again, too, you could have looked at how you wanted to lead him in, and then like, oh man, Howard's just keying off, and maybe held him out because break up that rhythm. We talked about rhythm a lot yesterday.
Yeah.
So
they were going to go with the hot hand, and that's what happened with Jordan Howard, who I think has earned the starts for Week 9.
Yeah, I think at least you have to consider it. I mean, at least put him out there. Again, run him by committee. But, I mean, the kid's got 99 carries for 505 yards as it stands right now. So, not bad. That's averaging a decent amount of yardage. And he hasn't even had 100 carries yet, and he's already over 500 yards. So, he's playing well. He really is. I think, you start him, whether or not he gets the majority of carries. Again, I think a lot of times when you have committees, it is by the hot hand, like you said. So, you have to see how that would go. But, Yeah, he's definitely earned that recognition, I think, at least.
Yeah, and Zach Miller also got involved in the offensive game plan last night as well.
So 88 receptions. He led the Bears. Even when the Vikings play good defense, tight ends seem to find spots open, and they play well enough. They've only played one really elite tight end, and that was Olsen a couple weeks ago. Tight ends seem to still kind of do okay, even though their linebackers are real good in coverage. I think they're so focused on the blitz at times, and their back end so good, you just kind of find those tight end pockets. But yes, I'm not surprised at all to see Miller lead the team in yardage for last night at all.
Okay, well, I want to talk about the Vikings moving forward. Should we be worried about this team? Like, is this team a fluke for the first 5 games? Are they for real? Are they a pretender? It's hard. It's tough to say because, that defense has been playing well. But we're now finally seeing when this team relies heavily on this defense. They, like I said, they can't run the ball. They can't protect the quarterback. How do you win like that? You can't win many games like that in this league.
Well, in the next upcoming few weeks, they have the Lions this Sunday, who we've seen could put up some numbers. The Redskins and then the Cardinals. The Redskins, we just saw what Cousins did, throwing for over 400 yards. The Cardinals are looking to sort of get back on track. They're playing a little bit better. And then the Lions again. That's your next 4 weeks. Those are 4 teams that can put up some points, put up some numbers. And then, the Lions, they don't have the greatest defense, but their rush is okay. The Redskins, their rush is getting better. They have a decent secondary. The Cardinals is still a defense that's intact. Tyrann Mathieu is going to be out for a couple weeks with a sore shoulder.
3 to 6.
So we'll have to see exactly how that progresses. And then you have the Lions again.
Yeah, on
this
Thanksgiving.
Time in Detroit, and that is on Thanksgiving. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go through these next 4 weeks. These are, I don't know if it's obviously no one's panicking. You look at like you said, they're at 5-2. If the season ended today, they're still in the playoffs. But after back-to-back 10-point outputs, 21-10 against the Eagles and 20-10 against the Bears, there might be some room to feel nervous.
No, this is 2 weeks after the bye week.
Yeah. A bye week that you look at, it's supposed to
I think
be
that
better
is
for you.
a concern. And I'm looking at all the rushing numbers right now. Jerry McKinnon had the highest total in a game at 85.
Yeah. He's got 8.
And then after the next highest is Asiata twice at 55.
Mm-hmm. And then the total rushing yards for the leader of the team is McKinnon. He's got 217. So
that's
they weren't running the ball well with Peterson.
They weren't running the ball well at all before he got hurt in that Green Bay Packers game. This team really worries me. I really thought 3 to 4 weeks ago that the NFC was going to run through the Vikings. I can't say that anymore.
Yeah, we saw the Broncos last year. A lot of people compared them to them in terms of the offense not being super strong, but the defense being good. Their defense has not been as good as the Vikings because they had every level rush, linebackers that were pretty solid in coverage, and a strong secondary. So the defenses I never quite equated to being similar, right? And then even then, the offense still had pieces. You had Demaryius Thomas, you have Emmanuel Sanders. You had pieces of a good offense.
And not only that, they can run the ball pretty decently well.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah, they played well. So that is, I people equate these teams all the time. I don't do that, and I don't think they're quite similar. And I think the Vikings could be in for an issue.
Yeah, but moving forward, I got to look at their next 4 games here.
Yeah, I read them off to you.
I know. And I'm trying to predict where I have them finishing these next 4 games because they had Detroit twice.
Okay, yeah.
I think they go 1-1 in those games.
I do too.
And
I think they lose one in the second one.
I say they go 2-2, so they'll go 7-4.
Okay. You think they lose to the Skins or the Cardinals?
Probably the Cardinals.
Okay.
But they can possibly lose to the Skins as well because that is a road game.
It is.
And, remember, the Cardinals literally gave up 8 sacks. So,
yes. Yeah, against a good rushing defense.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
Remains to be seen how that goes. We'll have to see. I agree with you, though. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to take our first break. We're going to come back and talk a little bit of college football here in just a minute at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, and it's time to talk college football. And by talking college football, that means we're going to do our best to kind of guess what the college football playoff rankings are going to be. We have the first of them coming tonight. Of course, yesterday we updated you on what the AP Top 25 looked like. So we're going to ignore number one because, Alabama's making the playoffs.
They're probably going to be there the entire year. Probably, unless they get upset somehow by LSU or someone else. Unless something miraculously happens, yeah, they're going to be the top dog.
They definitely. And now we look at Michigan. Michigan still has Ohio State to play. Clemson's finished close in a few different games. Washington is probably the weakest of the top four teams in terms of the opponents they've played, so we really don't know what kind of team they are. I mean, they are one of the best in the nation. Obviously, you can see that by the ranking. All four of those teams are undefeated, but they got a close call here this weekend with Utah. We'll have to see. And as it stands in the top 25, you have Louisville and Ohio State just outside there. If it was to end today and go in exactly like the top 25 would look like in terms of the top four for the playoff rankings, you would have Washington in the fourth spot there, and then Louisville, Ohio State coming in 5 and 6.
Yeah, and looking at only at the 6, we're going to talk about 6 teams here. Okay,
we'll do the 4 and then the first 2 out.
Okay, so as it stands right now, it's going to be Alabama, number 2.
Do you think they flip-flop Clemson, Michigan? Do you see that happening?
I can see that happening. I can see Ohio State happening to get the number 4 spot.
Yeah, we've talked about before Washington getting jumped in favor of Louisville or Ohio State purely based off of the strength of the opponents that they've played. I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. I really would not. Ben doesn't seem to think so. I've talked to him on the sports show about it. I really wouldn't be surprised to see Washington get jumped. We've seen it before with the TCU Baylor situation a few years ago. I wouldn't be surprised.
No, and I wouldn't either because Washington, they're a good team. But look at their schedule. And
the toughest team they played all year was Utah, who was ranked 17th at the time.
And even the number 7 team at the time on late September that they played, Stanford.
Yeah, Stanford. That's not the same Stanford.
It's not the same Stanford that we're accustomed to seeing.
Yeah, we saw
years
where they
past.
ended this year, and it's not on the top 25.
It is not. And the Cal and USC game for the Huskies kind of worried me a little bit.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. You could see it as a possible upset.
Kale,
the green.
The green fruit. No, the green vegetable, whatever it's called.
Whatever it is. Cal,
they can put up points. They can put up like 52.
Yeah, we've seen them put up points. I mean, against bad defenses and teams at times, but Pac-12 teams can put up points. Don't even rule out them playing Washington State at the end of the year either.
Exactly. I'm not going to rule out, and I was getting to that.
That's my point.
And then USC, they've been on a hot streak, so to speak.
They really have.
They've won 4 straight games.
Yeah, we're going to talk about them tomorrow.
Exactly.
At least I am.
And Arizona State, they can probably win that game, but Arizona State,
they came off a loss to Washington State. Arizona State did so.
Yeah, and then they can compete. And the Apple Cup, the day after Thanksgiving,
No, it's actually it's on Black Friday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Washington
that time of the year.
year.
Yeah, it is. It is at Washington State.
Yeah, it's either at Washington State or they play at CenturyLink.
And that's the toughest game after Utah they're going to play, and then they're probably going to play Utah again.
Yeah, and then the Pac-12 championship. Yeah,
I can honestly see.
And who knows how that'll turn out?
I can honestly see this team getting upset at least one of the 4 times. Well, and if they happen to go undefeated, they're still going to get torched by Alabama. They're just still good. I just don't see this team going far in the playoffs.
As good as Pac-12 teams have been in the past, it is just a different thing when they go to play SEC teams. You know, we've seen Oregon play. They were an exception because they played. Remember, they played Florida State, and that was a different kind of game.
Not only that, Oregon did play Auburn.
And we saw how that went too.
Yeah, when Cam Newton.
But that was
Cam
a different.
Newton.
Yeah. You know, that was Cam Newton's. That was his.
Was that Cam Newton?
Year.
I can't remember if Marcus Mariota was on that team.
I don't remember.
I don't remember that either.
I just remember that there was Cam Newton's game to lose, and then there was that one pass that I forget the running back's name, but he wasn't down. You know, he landed he got thrown down, but he landed on the tackler's stomach and got back up and ran it for another 60 yards. I remember that play vividly. My buddy
was that Trey Mason for Auburn?
No, it was the other one. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that was because I remember Trey Mason. It was the other running back. I forget his name. It was some of the D, I think.
Yeah, I do too.
But my buddy was a Oregon fan, and he lived on the street from me. And I swear I could hear him. I swear I could hear him yelling. But it's a different thing when the Pac-12 teams play SEC teams, or even the bigger, Michigans and Clemsons of the world. So I think, if Washington gets jumped, who do you think is the one to do it, Louisville or Ohio State?
Before I go on to Ohio State here, I'm going to talk about Louisville. They're a good team. Good. They're exciting to watch.
Probably the Heisman frontrunner, depending on how he finishes the year. Because
I think he had a Heisman moment on Saturday.
I did too, but I think if he keeps slowing it down a bit like he has, I think Lamar Jackson can get jumped for somebody who might have been hot down the whole stretch. Maybe not started the same way. There's a lot. You have Browning. You have
Jay Browning, who is also, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's a frontrunner as well. You also got Jabril Peppers, who can do it all in Michigan, and you got Deshaun Watson as well. But going back to Louisville here, Lamar Jackson did get his Heisman moment against Virginia, who almost defeated Louisville, and Virginia has not looked good all year long. Virginia has not looked good all year long, so that kind of worries. That win worries me a little bit.
Well, you always have to look at it too. You got to remember that anybody can beat anybody.
But to that credit though, it was at Virginia's house. So to that credit, and it's tough playing on the road anywhere. And they're playing Boston College, a team that they should beat. Wake Forest, a team that they should beat. That Houston game now doesn't look as prestige as it once did about a month ago.
It doesn't look as good as it did.
It didn't. No. So I think that game really hurts Louisville and Kentucky. So all these opponents here, they should beat them. And I don't think they can jump Washington because of it. Washington's schedule is a little tougher for me than Louisville because, Washington can possibly get upset at least 4 times in their schedule. Louisville, I don't really think any of these teams can upset them. I don't think they can.
I think Louisville's probably going to win the rest of the year.
Exactly, and I think they're going to probably end up with one loss, that one loss being to Clemson. Going to Ohio State, I can see them jumping Washington as well because, Ohio State schedule, they play Nebraska this Saturday. Huge primetime game. Maryland and Michigan State, I think those are going to be really tough games. Michigan State, they did play pretty tough this past weekend. Mm-hmm. And then they got, of course, you got the almighty Michigan, number 2.
Yeah.
So I think that game is going to decide who gets into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that one's going to be a real important game. Now, I do want you to answer my question, though. Who would jump Washington?
And I was getting
favor to jump Washington?
I was getting that to that point. Probably Ohio State.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted to see. Okay, so it's going to be Alabama. I think Clemson's going to jump at number 2.
Okay.
Ohio State 3, and then Michigan 4.
I don't see Ohio State jumping up to 3.
You don't?
No way. I think if somebody jumps in, it's going to be the 4th spot.
Okay.
I can't. Okay. Washington is the only undefeated team I can justify personally. One of those teams jumping in front of. I can't see them going to 3. I think they go. In my opinion, only go up as high as 4.
Okay. Well, the reason I can't put Michigan ahead of Ohio State because if Ohio State defeats Michigan,
that's a what if, and then it'll change. But you have to look at it as it is now.
And I do think Ohio State is a better team than Michigan, in my opinion.
Okay.
And I do, and I don't see Louisville jumping over Washington. I think the only team that can go to that 4th spot right there is Ohio State. Or, you can happen to have Clemson at 2, Michigan 3, and Ohio State 4, but I don't know how that's going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
But if Washington ends up making to the playoffs, great year.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Great year.
Especially from the year last year.
Great year. They're not going to go far. And if they happen to go far, then I'll be shocked.
I will be too. So then your top 4, or at least your top 6 as it stands, you have Bama, Clemson, Michigan, or Ohio State?
I think a way that I have it.
Okay, so Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, Michigan, Louisville, or Washington, Louisville?
Oh, from 1 to 6?
Yeah, I'm laying it out, yeah.
Okay, I'll lay it out here for you.
Or I guess you could specifically set on the 4.
Okay, Alabama, Clemson,
mm-hmm.
Michigan, Ohio State.
Alabama, Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State. Yeah.
And I think Washington and Louisville.
So, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Alabama before we take our break. I'm going to go Alabama, Clemson, Michigan, and I'm going to keep Washington there for at least 1 week.
Okay.
I
thought you were. Oh, this is the final projection.
Just what you think tonight's is going to be.
Tonight, that's a whole different thing. Okay.
Yes.
I think. Okay,
now I get why you meant.
I'm thinking about like the whole.
Just tonight. What do you think
tonight?
it's going to look like tonight?
Okay. Tonight probably be Alabama. I say Michigan stays at 2.
Okay.
And I think Clemson and Washington.
You think it's going to lay out pretty much as it is right now?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I wouldn't be, if we're going from this week, I wouldn't be surprised if Louisville goes in the top 4, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought you meant like at the season's end.
Flat out
that's why I was talking
Apologies.
about. Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, it's good to hear you say that. Though now I have an idea, and we'll keep talking about it. We'll probably talk.
But
about
I do see Ohio State jumping in the top 4 by the end of the year.
What do you see Texas A&M doing? Real quick before we take a break, what do you see him getting back up to potentially top 5?
I can see him going back up to the top 5 as well. This
someone's gonna have to lose if Ohio State loses again.
Exactly. That's tough.
That's what happened.
It's tough for me to put them on there because that means Ohio State has to lose again.
Or Louisville does.
Louisville has to lose again.
One of them will.
Washington's going to have to lose again, which I think could happen.
Again, they have to lose once.
They have to lose one, and I think the one loss that they have is the one loss that they have is against Alabama, which is a pretty good,
solid loss.
That's a solid loss. And if you look at their upcoming schedule here, they got Ole Miss, who haven't looked good at all. No, actually, I'm sorry, Mississippi State, and then they got Ole Miss after that.
Mm-hmm.
Then they got University of Texas San Antonio, the powerhouse.
Everybody knows
and then LSU. So I can see them possibly getting upset by LSU. They're always that up and down team. Leonard Fournette has been, he had a dominant game.
Yeah,
last week.
Stands, LSU's 15th.
And he's back fully healthy now. So that's going to boost a huge problem there, the SEC. So I can happen to see them probably lose one game, Texas A&M. That'll be probably the LSU game. But other than that, I don't know how they can get back to the top 5. I just think Ohio State, maybe Louisville they can jump over, but I don't know. For me, it's going to be hard for them to get in the top 5.
All right. Well, again, we're going to probably recap tomorrow what happens with the countdown tonight. But until then, let's take our last break and come back and have a few player news things to update you on here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we have 4 bits of news regarding players who are, 1, being traded, 1 being released, 1 being retired, and 1 coming out of retirement.
Wow. A full slate of news.
All we need one now is to get signed or something, and we're good.
We need one of us to get. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, pretty much a really shocking trade.
Yeah, let's start with the trade.
And the New England Patriots, they've been not historically known, but for the past few seasons, they've been trading with the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, okay.
But guess what? Instead of the Browns
trading
someone to them.
Jabal Sheed. They traded somebody to the Browns.
Exactly. And I don't know if the Browns will keep Brownie anymore, but the Patriots traded Jamie Collins, one of their Pro Bowl linebackers, to Cleveland Browns for a compensatory
conditional third rounder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to bring something to blow your mind real quick because we're going to be quick on all 4 of these. But since Bill Belichick has become the head coach of the Patriots, he has had 121 trades. Now, the notable ones, this would be notable. Jamie Collins is a perennial Pro Bowler. He has been. We're going to see, I'm going to read you the significant ones and see how they turned out for the Patriots. Because it seems the Patriots trade guys before they go bad, before they need that big money deal, or they trade them and they don't pan out other places because of the system they played in made them look better than they might have been. So let's start with Deion Branch heading to Seattle for a first-round pick in 2006. Deion Branch's career was pretty much over as soon as he left the Patriots. You're playing with a pretty great quarterback. The Patriots used a first-round pick on safety Brandon Merriweather. He didn't meet his first-round expectations, but he's still playing. He's not bad. So, not bad, right? The Patriots acquire Wes Welker from the Dolphins for a 2nd and 7th-round pick. Obviously, it turned out pretty good for them, right? The next trade that was significant was the following month, same year, but following month, March to April. They land Randy Moss from the Raiders.
I remember that.
That was significant.
They're in the trade.
Mm-hmm.
No, during the trade. They're in the draft.
Yeah,
I remember that.
For a 4th-round pick. Then the next trade didn't happen for 2 years. They traded Matt Castle and Mike Vrabel to Kansas City for safety Patrick Chung. We've seen what's happened with Matt Castle. Vrabel played 2 seasons there, I think, and retired. And Chung was on their team, left, and came back, and has been a pretty key person on their defense since about 2014, returning to the team. So, again, worked out better for them. Richard Seymour going to the Raiders for a first-round pick in 2011, which turned out to be Nate Solder. Seymour was past his prime. His best years were behind him. Solder stepped in 2012, and they haven't had a season worse than 12-4. And, they won a Super Bowl with him also. Traded Logan Mankins to Tampa Bay for a 4th-round pick and tight end Tim Wright. Didn't do much for them, but the 4th-round pick turned out to be Trey Flowers, who is currently on the roster and he's being utilized as a rusher on defense. So, turned out well for them. They did win the Super Bowl that year as well. Not like that was a key factor, but happened. And then this March, they traded Chandler Jones to Arizona for 2nd-round pick Jonathan Cooper. They did release Jonathan Cooper, but they used the cap space that were created to pick up a few key defensive veterans, including Chris Long, who has been pretty good for them lately. So, if you look at it that way, it'll be remain to be seen if Jamie Collins can be productive in Cleveland. You see guys leave the defense there in Foxborough, and they're not the same. And also, the rumor was he was playing off script a bit, and he wasn't doing the quote-unquote do your job, living by the persona in which Bill Belichick seems to die by. Yeah,
and I really thought, maybe Jamie Collins' trade has to do a little bit more than just money. A little bit more. Something had to go behind the scenes because you don't just trade a Pro Bowler like that when who's 27. He still has a couple good years left in him. So there had to be some going down, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was playing his job. But anyway, let's move on because we gotta be quick here.
Do you want to go release, release, retire, unretire?
We'll go release.
Release. Here we go.
All right, Packers waive. Now Davis, less than 2 weeks after trading for him.
Now I was hearing through the grapevine that apparently there was a deal that might have got done to send him back to Kansas City, but something they weren't going to give him anything, so they just straight up waived him.
And I wouldn't be surprised if now Davis actually goes back to Kansas City. Now
somebody's going to sign him.
Now with Spencer Ware and Jamal Charles now hurt. Jamal Charles is getting his knee checked out. Spencer Ware left the game on Sunday with a concussion.
Mm-hmm.
So their one running back is Charkandrick West. So I wouldn't be surprised if now Davis signs back and happens to go with the committee with West. But somebody is going to sign now Davis.
Yeah, he'll get signed. And I think this might be something that sheds light on the fact that they're okay with the way their running back position is, and maybe James Starks is also returning from knee surgery sooner than possibly imagined. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Retired or unretired?
We're going to go retired.
All right. Yesterday it was announced, and we did talk about it, that Andre Johnson is going to be retiring. Andre Johnson officially did retire. He had quite a good career. He is a great receiver that did not win a Super Bowl, of course, but, I mean, he is 9th all-time with 1,062 receptions. He had 14 seasons in which he played. He's 10th in yards with 14,185. And, to his credit, 70 touchdowns.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad for Andre Johnson away in Houston. He never played with a real quarterback.
And he never played with a winning team. His time there, in 12 years, they won 75 games and lost 101 games.
Even during those playoff years with Matt Schaub, they didn't go very far.
Yeah, he entered the league with Derek Carr, pretty much spent 5 years watching him get pounded.
No, David Carr.
David Carr, I'm sorry, Derek. Yes, David Carr. He's sacked 249 times in 5 years. So clearly, yeah, you're right about that. Not really a quarterback there. He played with Matt Schaub, who did utilize him well. They became a pretty solid team. Their first season with Schaub, they were the number 14 offense in the league. It didn't matter what kind of coverage was thrown on Aaron Foster, on Andre Johnson. He seemed to come down with it. He seemed to be that guy that that premier, he's not open but throw him the ball anyway receiver. And then Aaron Foster got there, and then they turned into a playoff team. You got a running game all of a sudden. So for a little while there, they were a pretty good team.
Yeah, and then there were a lot of Super Bowl, a lot of people's picks to go to the Super Bowl in those years, and they just never met the expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And we got 2 players from the Texas franchise retiring 2 straight weeks.
Yeah,
remember, this is a franchise that started 2002.
Roughly, something like that, yeah. 2003,
around there.
And 2002, I think. 2002. And then you look at 2, it's going to be interesting to see how he matches up against Calvin Johnson in terms of a conversation for the Hall of Fame,
I think he is going to get in there, but he's not first ballot. I just didn't think he didn't have enough achievements.
Yeah, I think the downside is going to be he was never played for a winner, really. The farthest they got was the first round of the playoffs usually. So,
but he did leave a huge impact on the field, and I do think that is a huge part of the Hall of Fame.
And he always played the right way, too.
Yeah.
And except for, he was the one that got in a fight with Finnegan, right?
Yeah, that was it.
Except for that. He always seemed to play it.
I think that was mainly Finnegan's fault. That was me.
Well, it was Finnegan's fault, but it wasn't Finnegan who got the last laugh. I'll tell you that right now. Finnegan got smoked.
All right, anyways, we got one last bit of news here before we go.
And that is unretirement.
And, the Bills, they've been, they need a lot of help at receiver this year. We got Sammy Watkins hurt. I think Robert Woods is hurt. They had a lot of injuries there. Marquise Goodwin has been hurt. One of their former receivers is actually coming back. That's Percy Harvin. He is coming out of retirement, and he's re-signed with the Bills today. The deal was announced on Twitter by Harvin's agent, Greg Barnett. So, do you see Percy Harvin making an impact right away?
No.
I don't either, because
if he can stay healthy, maybe.
Yeah, and that's been the one knocked on Percy Harvin his entire career was being healthy. I don't think he's ever played a full season at all.
I don't know.
And he was electrifying in Minnesota, when Brett Favre was there. Adrian Peterson was still in his prime. And when he went to Seattle, everyone thought this was like the missing piece for, the Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl run.
And he had a couple of good plays.
He had actually a couple good plays in that Super Bowl too, but he wasn't a main reason why they got there, and he wasn't a main reason why they won it. He did make some plays for him, but he didn't leave an impact like the Seahawks thought he would.
Yeah, and then he got straight up traded to the Jets 2 weeks into that year.
Yeah, and not only that, he signed with the Bills. So
yeah, to rejoin Rex Ryan, who apparently believes in him or something. This is if the kid can stay healthy, maybe. I mean, he doesn't even have. I don't even know what his receiving. He's got 4,020 yards and 22 touchdowns on 351 receptions.
Yeah, and Buffalo, they're on a bye week in Week 10, so I can see it's more likely we can see Harvin ease into action the next week against the Bengals, and then the Bills have some really good matchups. You know, they play the Jaguars, Raiders, Steelers, and Browns. So, there you go.
Some tough games coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be interesting to see what goes on. And, of course, if he starts lighting it up, we will let you know pretty much what happens. One last look into some news that we'll tell you real quick before leaving. The Patriots lost Bishop Sankey off their practice squad. He was signed by the Chiefs, so that might rule out a Now Davis return there.
That's the thing. Bishop Sankey has some football left in him. He's still young. He has been in the league for like 3 years, even though his time in Tennessee didn't go
great
as well.
They just kept bringing in different running backs over and over and over.
Not only that, they got DeMarco Murray now. So
and then Derrick Henry, and then you're like, get out of here, Sankey.
We don't need you.
We'll see where Now Davis lands, but it might not be it might not be the Chiefs. So, but anyways, that's the end of our show today. We'd like to thank you for listening. As always, we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to be talking anything and everything in the world of football, but especially this college football playoff rankings that comes out later today. So if you want to know what that is all about and our opinions on it, tune in tomorrow where Anthony, Jeremiah, and I will discuss it. Until then, we'd like to thank you for listening. For Anthony, as always, I'm Alex.
And I'm Jeremiah.
And don't forget to listen to Jeremiah's Fantasy Football Show because there was a commercial for it earlier. He'll be doing it today as well. So check it out. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.